Welcome back. This is Habits for Happiness, day number 9, I believe. And for this particular one, more so than a habit, I'd say this is getting clear and getting clear on what happiness isn't. So I think it's important that in order to understand what happiness is, which that's going to change a little bit from person to person, but to get clear on what happiness is, we need to know what happiness isn't. And that's also going to be different for each of us. But I think there are a couple things that, in general, I'm going to move over there for a minute so you can see the sun starting to come up. But in general, what we can rule out that happiness isn't, that isn't so obvious, especially in our modern world and modern culture, are a few things. Number one is being rich, or having lots of money. There's actually pretty clear statistics and evidence that past a certain point, excess money doesn't do anything. It doesn't increase happiness at all. In fact, excess money, if we're not happy prior to having it, can actually be worse. It can actually make us less happy. So, there's definitely an aspect of having our needs met and not being or struggling too much financially, knowing that we have a means to support ourselves and support our families, things like that. But beyond that, what we think of as, what would be a life of luxury that will not bring happiness. Another one is external pleasures. So if you think about pretty much anything that we have to utilize to make ourselves feel good, drugs, alcohol, sex, food, anything like that. And it doesn't mean that these things, I guess in the right time and place, don't serve a purpose and they don't have pleasure to them, but that's not actually happiness. That's not being happy. That's something external that we need to use in order to feel good. And there's a difference. Real happiness should come from within and shouldn't be dependent on something that can be taken away. And I guess that's a big point to this, and a big point to everything in this series, is that the more we can base our happiness on what can't be taken away, what's completely out of our control, the more likely we are to build and maintain that happiness. The same could be said for a relationship. Having the perfect relationship will not make us happy. What we can bank on is that there's really nothing outside of ourselves that is guaranteed to make us happy. There are obviously things that are going to help to relieve suffering or relieve uncomfortable situations, help us to deal with life or live life a little more aligned with how we want to. So it doesn't mean that anything external serves no purpose, but we just need to be aware that these things are not inherently going to make us happy or make us feel good for a sustained period of time anyway. We can't rely on that. So my suggestion would be, and it's more of just a thought exercise, but in your own life, to think about what you may think or maybe have planned that if this happens, you'd be happy. Examine that a little bit, but also think about if you're creating a prison for yourself, in the sense that you've also determined that if that doesn't happen, that you can't be happy or you won't be happy. And that's what a lot of us do with those kinds of things, with external circumstances. So take a look at that, see where you've created conditions for what happiness would look like, how that could be holding you back. And I'm going to talk more, I did a little bit in one of the earlier videos, but talk more about what happiness is in one of these videos whenever I feel that makes sense to talk about. But what happiness isn't, it's not something that we put into our bodies that creates temporary stimulation. There's a difference, and all that stuff is okay, but it's not real happiness. It's not excess money, it's not the perfect relationship, it's not necessarily like a better job or better situation. So we just want to be aware of that. And it's not about creating some strict boundaries or stripping ourselves of any desire to do anything. It's just about being aware of where we may be off or misleading ourselves. So that's day number 9. Determine what, or be aware of what happiness isn't. Thank you for watching.